Welcome back to EVE 101. Up until this point with this series, we have talked about very general mechanics and concepts pertaining specifically to EVE Online. In these next 3 episodes, we'll be looking at the player's user interface and the mechanics related to it. To start, we'll begin where every new player starts the game after creating their character, inside a station. Inside a station, a player has access to one type of menu. This is the station menu found on the right-hand side of the screen. There is another menu, called the Neocom menu on the left-hand side of the screen, which a player can access while in a station or undocked. For now, we'll focus on the station menu as that pertains specifically to a station and its services. At the top of the station services window, you will see which corporation controls and operates the station. This can be an NPC corporation or player corporation if you're in a null security space, also known as nullsec. Below that are the options for entering the captain's quarters, which is a more interactive menu system, or to undock in the current ship the player is in. Below that are the icons that display the various services the station can provide. On the top row to the far left is where the loyalty point store would be if the player is in an NPC-controlled station. The loyalty point store is where a player can go and buy items from a certain faction with the loyalty points earned from completing missions for that group. This is where a player can get faction and pirate ships for loyalty points and a set amount of ISK, or modules and implants. To the right of that is the insurance window. This is where a player can pay a set amount of ISK to insure their ship. Once that ship is destroyed, the player automatically receives whatever the insurance value of the ship is worth. There are different tiers of insurance, offering higher payouts. If the player wishes to join a faction warfare militia, they can use the faction warfare office. This is where the player can enlist themselves, or their corporation or alliance, into faction warfare. We'll talk more about faction warfare later into the series. For now, just know that there are 4 main NPC groups a player can join or fight for. For the Amarr, a player will fight for the 24th Imperial Crusade against the Minmatar. If a player wishes to join the Minmatar, they will be joining into the service of the Tribal Liberation Force. In the Caldari and Gallente faction warfare space, joining the State Protectorate will enlist a player into the Caldari faction warfare militia. Joining the Gallente faction warfare enlists a player into the Federal Defense Union. Remember, your player race has no restriction on which faction warfare group you can join. To the right of the faction warfare menu is the Bounty Office menu. This is where a player can see which players have the highest bounty on them, or place bounties themselves. Bounties are a way for a player to earn ISK from PvP. Next is the Science and Industry menu. This is where a player can use any blueprint copies or blueprint originals, called BPCs and BPOs respectively, to build their own modules, ammo, or even ships, so long as the player has the necessary materials in their station cargo hold. Next is the Fitting window. This is where a player adds the modules to their ship. A player can also store certain ship fitting configurations in this window. Using the window, they can also automatically fit a ship, skipping a slightly tedious procedure of dragging and dropping modules onto their ship, so long as they have the appropriate modules in their station hangar inventory. The Market window is exactly what it sounds like. This is where a player can see what is available within their region. In EVE, each system is part of a series of systems to make up a region. In total, there are 64 regions in the game, with some regions having more robust markets than others. It is generally necessary to travel to find some specific ship or module at a lower price. There is also the main trade hubs within the high security systems, also known as HiSec. This is where most players have grouped and sell their items for competitive prices amongst one another. The most notable of these systems are Jita, Amarr, Renz, and Dodixie. The reprocessing plant allows players to refine ore, modules, drones, and ships into their base minerals. This is, essentially, a way for players to recycle their items. The repair shop is rather simple. It is where a player can pay ISK to repair their modules or ships when they are damaged. The medical clone window is where a player can set which station they will respawn at when their capsule is destroyed. A player can only set a station to be their respawn point when they are docked in that specific station, and it has medical services available. A player can also use the medical clone window to self-destruct their pod within the station, as well as move themselves back to their corporation's set clone facility. The recustomization window is where a player goes to apply new clothing, hair, or other cosmetic items to their character. A player can also resculpt the look of their character here once they have purchased a resculpt pass from the New Eden store. We'll talk more about the New Eden store in our section on the Neocom menu. Each of these station services vary from station to station, making players have a need to undock and travel from system to system outside of the other driving factors. Below these services are the agents, guests, corporation offices, and hangar tabs. Each tab shows information pertaining to that subject. The Agents tab shows which mission agents are available from that station. This is where a player can accept missions which help improve their standings with that agent's corporation, and in some cases, earning them loyalty points to be spent in the loyalty points store. Under the Guests tab, a player can see other players that are docked in that particular station. This allows players to trade with one another directly through the trade window, among other options. In the Offices tab, a player can see which corporations rent an office out of the station, as well as rent an office for their own player corporation. Corporation offices allow EVE Corporation-based asset storage and management. Each corporation office space has 7 hangars for storage. This is where a corporation can store strategic assets, such as ships to hand out for fleets, goods for market runs, and so forth. A player can see their corporation hangar in the inventory window, but may not access it unless they are given specific permissions. We'll look more at that when we discuss the Neocom. Each month, a player corporation must pay their rent for their office, which can vary depending on the system and station. Some stations and systems are obviously cheaper to rent from than others. The Hangar tab shows which ships and items a player has stored in that particular station. That's it for this overview of the station menu. In our next video, we'll be looking at the Neocom menu found on the left-hand side of the screen and how it interacts with some of the station services you'll find. For tutorials and overviews, visit eve101.com, and for analysis and insight on EVE Online, you can visit crossingzebras.com.